This is John Dobbs, a preaching minister for Forsyth Church of Christ, with a word of encouragement for you. Thanks for watching for a few minutes. I don't want to mention before we get started that we do have a website at facoc.org, and we'd love for you to check out Forsyth Church, and would especially love for you to come and visit with us some Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Now, what about this word of encouragement for today? You know, everybody experiences temptation. You've experienced temptation today, I have no doubt. Even people who are not Christians experience temptation. Atheists go on diets too. But temptation is of special interest to Christians. We want to live the Jesus life. We want to live a life that glorifies God and follows the commands of the Lord and the ways of God. And we find ourselves tempted every day to live a different kind of life, to make some decisions that we know Jesus wouldn't make, and temptation sets in. I want you to think about your last temptation, the one you were conscious of, the one where you had to make a decision and think about, which path am I going to follow? I want you to think about whether you gave in or didn't give in to that temptation. I want you to think about it as we look at an important statement about temptation made by the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. He says, "No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it." Now, what does this tell us about our last temptation, that one I asked you to think about? Well, one thing it tells us is that no temptation has seized you except what is common to man. Sometimes the struggles we have, we feel alone. We feel like nobody else is as tempted in this area as we are. Maybe everybody else has figured out a way to avoid it, but here we are struggling with it. And to be honest, it's the same temptations we've been struggling with for a long, long time. And so we kind of feel like it's a special thing, or it's just us, or there's something wrong with us. But the truth is, many people have experienced that same temptation all across the years. Sometimes they prevailed, sometimes they didn't. But it's not some super strong, unbearable temptation. It's common. It's something that a lot of people face. And another thing that this verse tells us is that God is faithful, and He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. I sometimes have heard people misstate this text and say, God won't give me anything more than I can bear, meaning the troubles of life. But this is not about the troubles of life. This is about the temptations that we face. And God has made us many promises in Scripture, and in this promise, He begins by saying God is faithful. You can count on this promise. It's true. And you can know that this temptation that you're facing is not impossible to resist. Sometimes we feel it's impossible. Oftentimes we fail to remember God's promise and we give in to temptation. But the truth is, this is a promise from a faithful God that temptation is not too strong for you. It's not stronger than you are. The last temptation that you faced was not too strong for you because of God's faithfulness. And your last temptation was one that many people face. There's a third thing that Paul tells us in this text. He says, "But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so you can stand up under it." And this is another powerful promise. One verse with several powerful promises here. There is a way out. I just finished reading through Genesis not long ago, and it reminded me of Joseph, who was in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar's wife was trying to seduce him. The only way out he could see was to just run away, and that's what he did. And there was nothing cowardly about that. And there's nothing cowardly when you want to run away from your temptation as well. Sometimes that's the only answer, is just to get out of that situation. Your last temptation had an escape route. Did you take it? And as we think about temptation, I want us to be encouraged, because there are three promises here in this one verse that should bless us, that your last temptation was common to many people, that God is faithful and that there's a way out. And next time you face a temptation that seems so strong, I want you to remember 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 13. If you're a good memorizer, you should memorize it. Keep in mind, because that won't be your last temptation. But God is faithful. At Forsyth Church of Christ, we hope this has been an encouraging word for you.